Hi, friends. Welcome to the Mastermind Moments podcast.
Hosted by your pals, Josh and Sasha.
Join us during our weekly mastermind as we collaborate on how to make the most out of our lives.
Not only are we going to mastermind our careers, we're going to work on all areas of life together.
Let's do it. Listen in as we make the most of our mastermind moments.
Hi, hello.
Hi, how are you?
I'm whatever. Yeah. It's okay. So we were having tech issues last week, and this week we're like, okay, we'll do a tech test, and if it's working, we'll just record. And I think we're realizing that the issue is me, but I was blaming Josh, so I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. It's okay. I was actually really upset that my computer was broken, that my microphone was broken, because you kept blaming me. We'll let it go. Clearly, you're the issue.
It's me. Hi, I'm the problem. It's me.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But glad to be here. Grateful to be able to record and actually not have to use a makeshift telephone call and microphone.
Yeah, I'm so grateful though because that last week's episode was so good and I feel like we had so many amazing nuggets of wisdom and I'm really glad that the editing worked out. So it might be like a little choppy, but honestly with shout out Descript. So we use Descript to edit our podcasts. Like the studio sound feature on that saved us. Like it sounded like a phone call in the beginning and then studio sound made it sound clear. So really happy about that.
Nice. Good to know for future reference in case you ever have a tech breakdown again.
Yeah, apparently it's just my headphones. Apparently it was just my AirPods. So let's spin a wheel. Career. How do you approach networking and building professional relationships?
I don't.
Yeah, I don't either.
Yeah, I don't. It is the short answer, which is really bad, but it's something that with my new job, I am absolutely going to do. I don't know if I mentioned this before, but my new boss in my interview with him, which I think was my fourth interview for this job, he said to me that a huge part of this job is the networking and building your own personal PR within the company so that everyone knows who you are. And if you do that, and everyone knows who you are and everyone knows and likes you, you're going to stand a much better chance of progressing through the company because that's how it works within the corporate world or in any industry. I guess it helps to network and to be well known. And so it's part of the job with my new job that I'm really excited for, to be honest, because it's not something I really have to do in my current job. In my current job, it's a smaller company. It's still a fairly big company, but the results speak for themselves. So it's going to be a learning experience with the new job and networking. And to me, I think it just looks like just really putting myself out there, going into the office as much as I can, going out for work events, work drinks, whatever it may be, and just getting to know every single person that I possibly can, introducing myself to everyone that I meet or come across when I'm in the office. I think that's going to be it. And it's going to be a learning experience. It's going to be a learning curve because I've never really networked before. I think I've always been actually quite scared to do it. There's been a little bit of a fear of rejection, or I think more than rejection, it's more of a, what's it called, imposter syndrome type thing. Like people who go to networking events or people who network, they tend to be high frequency, high net worth, high value individuals. And so I think there is an element of imposter syndrome there as well, but that's just something that I think would go with practice and building up that confidence, I suppose.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel like you and I are very similar in the sense that we're both very friendly people. Like we love to go meet new people, make friends. And it's like it's a fine line, like not even a fine line, but there's a difference between going out and being friendly and just meeting people and networking. And for me, I'm just like, I don't know, like the term like networking always seems like skeezy to me. Like I feel like I'm going and like actively trying to get something from someone and it doesn't like quite feel like not an honest connection, but like a like a solid connection based on like real rapport. It just feels like tit for tat almost, like these networking things, but maybe that's just my perception of the term networking. But maybe this question is like an opportunity for us to mastermind, like, actually, how can we be more intentional about connecting with people specifically around career? Like, for example, I just met someone on Friday on a tour, and he's here. He's a CEO of this like hair care company, like big deal CEO. And he and I like hit it off the bat, just like really talked about life and just got really into it. And it's, oh, well, this guy's an amazing person for me to know, an amazing connection. It's like, how do I nurture that relationship? And we exchange contact information, and maybe it's like a matter of me like sending a follow-up email and being like, it was so nice to meet you. I love talking about XYZ. I'd love to stay in touch. And yeah, so maybe it's like being more intentional about that. And I think maybe it's that, like, for me, I think the best way is like when I meet people cool, and like I'm not necessarily going out and trying to connect for my career. I'm just going out and trying to connect in life. And if like you happen to get a friendship out of it, or a romantic thing, or a career thing, like whatever is meant to happen there is meant to happen there. But maybe it's a matter of being more intentional about my follow-ups. And same with you, like maybe it's more intentional about your follow-ups. Get the person's information and send them an email or a text and be like, hey, it was so nice chatting with you about XYZ, something
Yeah,
like
no,
that.
absolutely. I think my mum always said, with the career that I've chosen in real estate, I'm going to build up such an extensive database of contacts from all over the place. I've worked with lots of very famous people. I've worked with incredibly high net worth individuals, and I haven't really taken advantage of that. I've worked with them for the purpose of offering my service, and they never really followed up and built that kind of long-term contact, which I think is really important. And so I think it is about being more intentional and actually following up, as you said, and keeping that relationship going, because that's ultimately in my industry. And again, I'm moving away from selling real estate now, finally. But in my industry, in real estate, it's who you know, and who's going to buy from you, who's going to sell through you. And I've never really taken advantage of that.
Yeah.
So I think it is about being more intentional. In my new job, it's just about showing up every day in the office and actually just talking to people. And as you said, it's different. We're both very social people and very good with people. Um, but it's different to going out and making friends. I'm not going to go around my office high-fiving people and telling them I like their shirt, you know?
Why not?
Well, okay, maybe. Yeah, actually, it's a fair point.
Why not? Like it's a way to set yourself apart than making this stupid small talk of,
That's an interesting perspective actually, because it's a professional environment, and I wouldn't have really thought to do that. Like again, is maybe just an element of embarrassment, or they would think that I'm being unprofessional. But I think in a modern work environment, people are probably going to be quite receptive to it.
yeah, I think
And it
so.
makes you memorable as well, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So I think for both of us, being more intentional about following up with people and like maintaining, because we're great at meeting people, but like, how do we maintain that relationship? And you and I are also very good at that too. I think it's just like applying those skills to networking. And another idea I had while we were talking is you were saying that you have a big database and you're going to build a big database. I think it would be a really good idea to actually build the database like in your computer, like on a Google sheet, or for me, like a Notion, like actually build a spreadsheet about who's the person, what's their contact, like what's their background, where are they located. So that way you need to go and you need something, or you want to connect somebody with somebody else, you can go to your literal database, be like, oh, I know this person in this industry, or I know this person in this location, or whatever, and actually build out that database of people and like contacts.
I think that's a very good idea. Because I've been doing this for about 10 years now, and there is an extensive sort of database of people that I've worked with. I don't necessarily still have their contact details, but I have a relationship with them, or had a relationship with them. They would probably remember me. So I think that's a good idea to actually go back and brainstorm who I've worked with, if there could be potential future business opportunities as well, I think is really important. Um, so yeah, I like that idea.
Yeah.
Who's Have you had ever had any kind of semi-famous interactions, or in a business sense, or
In a business sense, not really. Not really. I was hoping that this Call Her Daddy event I was going to go to was going to be more of a networking thing than it was. Ended up just being a purely fun thing. I had a ridiculous
yes,
amount of fun, like more fun than I can share publicly. But But, yeah, it ended up not being that. So no, not really, not really. I'm not even famous, but I do know more, like, C-suite people, but that's more just, like, friends of my parents or, like, I met the CEO guy, like, just c people like that, but not, like, famous per se.
Yeah, well, those are all very important connections to have. I guess actually any connection is important to have in many ways. You can never discount how important that connection could be in the future.
Yeah.
It's like those it's not really a meme, I don't know what you call it, but those videos of someone who disrespects someone on the street or while they're driving, they get road rage and they start shouting at them, and then they drive to a job interview and it turns out that that person is interviewing them and they don't get the job because they disrespected that person. You never know when you're going to cross paths with someone,
It's also
no
like you
matter who
can
it
learn
is.
something from everybody. Like, every single person knows something that you don't know. Doesn't matter if it's a 5-year-old or an 80-year-old, like, you can learn something from everybody. So,
Yeah.
just, like, treating every individual like a unique, amazing individual that they are.
Every new connection, every human being is a window, a doorway into a whole new world. I like that was one of my favorite ever phrases that I've come across, and it's so true. You know,
Yeah.
just like every single person you talk to could be a completely, everyone has a completely different life, right? Everyone,
Mhm.
no matter
Yeah.
who you are, all how many 8 billion plus people have a completely different life, different viewpoints, different opinions, and the only way to get to know that and to understand those worlds is by talking to people and connecting with people.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So, meat of the episode, how are you doing? What's going on? Oh, yeah, let's chat because we've been sending voice messages back and forth, so I know, but, like, how's it been going?
Yeah, yeah, pretty good. I have had a decent week. I don't remember what I said in my voice messages, but I've had Savita's parents here.
That's what I wanted to chat
Um,
about. How's that going?
yeah, I thought so. Yeah, I thought because the way you said it, I was
I was
like,
like, "Oh,
did
yeah."
have I has something bad happened? But yeah, they arrived on Friday last week. Obviously, we're recording on the Wednesday. This Wednesday, yeah, Wednesday. And they're great. They're lovely. They are just such sweet people, just like Savita. I've always said she is a walking green flag. She's just an adorable little angel. And her parents are too. Her parents are just, they just don't seem like they have a bad bone in their body. I can't imagine them ever raising their voice at their children. And it shows in Savita, but also her sister. Her sister is adorable. Like she's 17 and she's just the sweetest girl, so personable for her age and just awesome. So that was fun. We spent pretty much the whole weekend together, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Really, really bonded with her dad in particular. Her dad's really sweet guy. He reminds me a lot of my granddad, weirdly, just in terms of like his personality, the way he laughs is I've never heard that laugh on anyone other than my dad. So it was nice. My only concern has been, and I think this might be what I raised with you, there is a language barrier. There is a language barrier, and I don't. Savita really wants me to have a very close relationship with her parents. Understandably, right? She's incredibly close with her family, and I've seen that. She's always told me, but I've seen it firsthand now over the last few days. They're like this, like they're inseparable, and it's beyond me actually how they're coping still for so long with her living in the UK and her being away from her family. They're so close, like it must be so difficult for all of them. So I understand why she wants me to have a very close relationship, and I think I probably will, especially with her dad. But there is a language barrier, and especially with her mum. Her mum is, she clearly understands most English and she speaks reasonable English, but she's not confident in the way she speaks at all. Like, I think we've spoken about this not too long ago. I saw a clip that I posted on Instagram, which was about your French and my Italian and how it's a confidence thing, you know?
Mhm. Yeah.
And I think that's what's happening with her mum. And as a result, over the last few days, I barely spoke to her mum. She was there and we interacted with smiles and body language and body hand movements, but that was the extent of it. So I'm a little bit worried because I would love a good relationship with her mum and her dad. And her sister speaks perfect English because again, different generation, just like Savita, she English is one of her best languages. So that's a concern, but a positive from meeting her parents is, and again, this is, I don't really know where this has come from, but I feel closer to Savita than I ever have. All of a sudden, yeah, I just feel we're in a really good place, and only been a few days, but I think there's just something about seeing her with her family and also meeting her family and being accepted by her family that just suddenly made me feel like I don't know how to describe it. Just my feelings suddenly got 10 times stronger, and there was no doubt in my mind about anything to do with her or the relationship, or it's just, and I don't know where that's come from. I don't know if it's just, yeah, as I say, being accepted, or the fact that I seeing her with that family environment, which I haven't seen her in before. Um, but it's quite a nice feeling, you know,
Yeah,
and
you are
I
seeing
don't
her
know
in a
where
new
it's
light.
exactly.
You're seeing another side to her personality you've never seen before and another piece to her life that you've never been exposed to before. So of course, like, feelings are gonna come up, and they could have gone the other way too. Like, you could have seen how she interacted with her family and been like, "Oof, ooh, not the
Yeah,
best," you know?
honestly, it sounds terrible, but I had nightmares. Like genuinely, I had such bad dreams, maybe two or three times in the build up to them coming. And I just imagined them not liking me, or her dad on like the third day coming up to me and going, "So, what are your intentions with my daughter?" The classic, or trying to force my hand in marriage or something like that, which I'm just not ready for yet. And it could still happen. They're away at the moment. They're away for a week now, traveling around Europe. When they get back, who knows? It could happen. But right now, it wouldn't be the end of the world. It's yeah. So it's gone much better than I envisioned in many ways.
Yeah.
But there are definitely concerns as well, and they're not concerns about our relationship, but I worry about how that could impact our relationship in the future.
Yeah. No, completely. Completely. It makes sense. As far as the language barrier thing, something I've been using since I've been here, because the language barrier with Portuguese is something that's very real, is I have the new like iPhone, but there's like a action button for translate where you can talk into the phone and it like shows it in the other language. And I don't know if that's how you're getting by with a Google Translate or something like that, but tools like that are readily available to us. So I'd say use them if you like beyond just being like, this food is good, like being able to, and like basic hand gestures, being able to actually have a conversation over Google Translate is something that in today's world and today's technology, like let's utilize that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, I mean, with the Google Translate thing, it's not. So her dad speaks English very well, but he has a very, very thick accent. And the other problem is that with both of her parents, they speak their own language, which is a lesser spoken Indian language. But it's very much mixed in with English words. So it's, I don't know how that would work with translation. And maybe that's the way that I can connect better with her mum in particular. I
Yeah.
think that's probably a good idea. But then is that awkward? Is it
Who
kind of
cares?
awkward and awkward, but also maybe disrespectful? Would she feel kind of belittled a little bit that I'm, yeah, the next time we talk, I whip out Google Translate and I'm like, we can talk now. I don't know. I personally wouldn't feel uncomfortable about it, but would someone else, would they feel,
I think you're
yeah,
overthinking it.
belittled?
You're
Yeah, probably.
overthinking it.
Probably.
I think it's such a nice thing if someone's, oh, they want to connect with me deeper. So they're like trying to find tools to help us connect more. Like, I don't think anyone's going to think badly of that.
No,
Don't overthink it.
no.
And there's no harm in trying. Like, if it doesn't work, it doesn't work, but might as well try it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
We
No,
live in
it's
a modern
definitely
world. Like, just give it a shot.
take advantage of it. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So yeah, I think that's a good idea. A good idea, and I'll give it a go maybe when they're back. I am also thinking, so they're in Paris right now, and they're in Paris for a few days, and then they're going to Barcelona. And her dad has been pushing for months, even before I met him, for me to come to Barcelona and for me to meet them there, because obviously I'm working. I Yeah, I'm working, so it's difficult. But I could go. So they're going to be in Barcelona on the weekend. They arrive late on Saturday, so I could go Saturday, Sunday, and then maybe call in sick to work on Monday. So I get a couple of days with them. But I'm questioning whether I should, for a couple of reasons. I think it'd be nice. I've never been to Barcelona. I think it'd be really fun. Um, but I feel like maybe I should allow them their own space, some family time together, because she hasn't seen her family. They haven't seen each other in over a year. And so I'm questioning, yeah, whether I should allow them to have just some time by themselves, because so far in the time that they've been here, I've seen them every day. I've been with them every day. Um, would they appreciate just being alone for a while? I think that's what I'm thinking at the moment.
If they're the ones inviting you,
They did invite me.
and
They did
also
really
they are going to be in Paris themselves.
together. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So I could do that. I could do it.
I would just ask Savita about it. Just be like, listen, would it be better for you to have solo time with your family, like for you guys to connect as a family, or do you think it'd be like,
Yeah. Well, I
yeah,
know what her answer is. I know what her answer is because she wants me there anyway. Like she would want me to be there. But then I'm also wondering, is it a bit much for me as well? Because Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday as well, I saw them before they left yesterday. It was intense. It was intense. And because it's not like I can just switch off, I have to be, I feel like I have to be on my A game around
yes,
the parents. I have to be smiley and charismatic and, you know, Josh at a rave, basically. But then the other part of that is, as I said, the language barrier. And again, I have to be like so switched on and like figuring out other ways to communicate. And it was draining. It was draining. And so they're coming back after this trip for a couple of weeks. That's going to be an intense couple of weeks. You know,
yeah.
2 weeks is going to be intense and I think quite mentally taxing. So I was quite looking forward to having this week off and away from that.
Like a break.
Um,
Yeah.
like a break, exactly. I have lots planned this week with friends, with just stuff that I probably wouldn't do if Savita was here,
Mm.
because I'd probably be with her instead. So I'm taking advantage of it, and I think it's important that I do that. Yeah. So I think maybe not. I'm swaying back and forth with them. Like
I
1 minute
think
I'm like, yeah,
maybe like just sit down and meditate on it. Like maybe sit down, go for a run on it, meditate on it, and if it's not a fuck yes, it's a fuck no. And sometimes you do need a
yeah.
break.
Yeah, I do. I think the other thing that's making me feel a bit bad is I'm trying to plan this trip at the end of May, which I told you, you heard my voice message, right?
Yes, I
So I
did.
was
I did.
saying that I'm hoping now that I might be able to negotiate an extra week off.
Yeah.
So that would be 3 weeks that I could travel in, which would
Yeah.
be amazing because I could do a really sexy trip. So I'm waiting on confirmation from my boss as to whether I can do that, and then
Okay.
I can decide on where I'm going, what I'm doing.
Okay.
When I told Savita that, she got upset with me because she was like, "You're going to be away for 3 weeks. That's a long time to go without seeing you." And she wasn't pissed. She was just like,
Yeah.
"It'll be hard." And I get it. I get it. It'll be obviously quite tough for me because we spend a lot of time together. So there's a bit of attachment anxiety and separation anxiety. But yeah, I think it's for the best. When else am I going to get an opportunity to travel for 3 weeks?
If you have it,
Never.
take it. If you have it, take it.
I'm
Yeah.
never going to get an opportunity like this where I have 3 weeks off in a row, especially with my new job. If I'm planning on staying at this job for a long time, which I am, this is meant to be a 5, 10 plus year career. So I'm never going to get an opportunity like this again,
Yeah.
not for a long, long time. So not in my youth anyway. So
Right.
I need to take advantage of it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Keep me posted. And it's something I wanted to talk to you about because I'm gonna book my place for the summer, like very, very soon. And I'm like looking at different places in Paris where I can land for the summer, which like I was looking at Airbnbs is like 70 nights. And I was like, yes, like being somewhere for that long sounds
Wow.
so nice. But I did book it, like do the dates based on your return date, like the 7th of June. So I would love to join you. I know we talked about like North Africa or even South America, depending on where I could join you potentially. So really, and I wouldn't be able to join you for all 3 weeks. I could do the 2
Yeah.
because I have a wedding at the end of May that I need to go to. So,
Well, to be honest, I think my plan at the moment is probably to do like a continental trip
okay.
for the first 2 weeks, and then I'd spend the final week at my mum's place in Italy. So basically, because I just think going away for 3 weeks in what will probably be quite an intensive trip, quite an action-packed trip,
Yeah.
for 3 weeks, and then literally a couple of days later starting my new job, having to catch up with jet lag and stuff,
Yeah.
depending on where I go. That's not ideal. So I was thinking go away for 2 weeks, somewhere, another continent, then come back, go to Italy for a week, have a week where I can literally just chill by the lake, recharge. It's a 1 hour time difference, there's no jet lag. And then I come back Friday night, start work on Monday. I think
Okay.
that's the ideal.
I think, well, if that's the case, I'm gonna invite myself to everything, I hope you know. If that's the case, I still will join for Italy.
Okay.
Like, I can join for Italy for sure, because that would be perfect because I'm gonna be going to Paris for the summer anyway, so it'll be, like, good for me to adjust, and I just wanna eat my body weight in pasta.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I'll join for Italy for sure. Keep me posted on where you wanna go for those other 2 weeks because
Yes.
maybe I'll join you for a week of it, but it really, really depends on where. And if not, maybe we'll figure it out, but it's something we really, really need to talk about. So maybe I'll just go and book my Paris place for those dates, for those your return dates anyway. You said 7th of June, right?
Yeah. I will know on my, like, from my boss probably today, tomorrow. Actually, he's off tomorrow, so probably
But
Friday.
you're gonna be back the 7th of June anyway to go back to Tomorrowland, right?
Well, no, so 7th of June, I'm going to just a rave, just a
Right,
random
but you'd
rave.
be
So
back that day anyway.
I'll be back by, yeah, so I'll probably be back in London on the evening of the 6th.
Okay.
Yeah. So my plan, what I was thinking with the itinerary that I planned, wherever I go, was to go to Italy from the 1st, I think, the 1st of June until the 6th, or the 2nd until the 6th, basically the Monday to the Friday that week.
Okay.
And then, yeah, so that's what I was hoping to
Okay.
do.
No,
But,
that's just
you know,
I'll keep me posted and I'll book my Paris spot and I just book it starting like the 6th or 7th on, and then we can figure out the rest in the middle. Not for everyone to hear our itinerary and our
yeah,
travel
exactly.
plan.
Literally the exact dates as well.
Yeah, but this is coming out way after that, so
No,
like
I
whatever.
was exactly.
Like
We're okay.
I'd feel weird about it if this was coming out in real time, but thankfully I think because we just recorded episode 30 last week and episode 20 came out today. So we're 10 weeks ahead,
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
which is
We're doing
helpful to
okay.
know. Yeah, we're
Yeah.
doing fine. So it's 10 weeks ahead is totally fine. Okay, good to know. Good to know.
Yeah. So we'll figure it out, and that'll be fun. And
I'm
I
excited to spend
think
like actual time with you because I
I
don't think we've
know
spent, yeah,
more than a week
yeah,
together.
4 or 5 days, yeah, ever.
Yeah.
Which we might hate each other by the end, but
Probably. Yeah. Probably.
no, the nice thing about my working remote though is especially when I'm traveling with people is that like I have to separate at some point so everybody gets their own space and time alone. Like I'm thinking about traveling with my best friend who I've known since I was 5, and he and I have never I've connected you guys. He and I have never traveled together, and he's, well, are you going to be able to take time off? And I was like, no. But honestly, like it might be good for you to have your own solo time and for like me to have my work time, and like when you're on top of each other 24/7, a lot of times you can drive each other crazy, except for fucking Dr. Leprechaun because I spent 2 weeks inseparable from him and I was just more obsessed with him by the end. But other than that, for the most part, you want to kill the people you're with after 2 weeks. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. No, I completely get it. I've been there before. Although, unfortunately, my trips where that's happened have been with people that I didn't even particularly like in the first place. So, yeah.
Yeah, true, true. Very, very true.
So that's just something to consider is that you have to go with someone that you actually like, you
Mm.
know.
You
And
learn
we've
a lot
spent
about people when you travel with them.
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. Oh yeah, you see a completely different side to them because you're spending like real time with them. You're spending like consistent a lot of time with them. So
Hmm.
with the people that I've gone away with that I didn't particularly like, or enjoy being away with, I'd never really spent more than a day with them before, and then suddenly I go away for 2 weeks and I don't like you. I don't actually enjoy your company or like you as a person. We've known each other long enough, and
You're my best friend. Like, come on, we'll be fine.
exactly. I mean,
Also,
listen,
we're
if
both
we can't
travelers. Yeah.
exactly, if we can't travel together, then there's something wrong. So I
We're
can't
both,
travel with anyone.
yeah, for real. And we're both avid travelers. I think it's going to be fine. A lot of times, like, my frustrations are when people, like, don't know how to travel well. Or it's just like
Yeah,
personality things where I'm just like, why are you so negative or don't want to do anything or something like that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So speaking of, you mentioned Dr. Leprechaun there. Do you want to talk about it?
Yeah, I do. I do want to talk about it. Long story short, we've decided to take a step back from the situationship, relationship, whatever you want to call it. It's still there, but we've decided to like actively, I don't want to call it a breakup because we weren't together. And I don't want to call it a breakup because we're not going to cut off communication. And I'm going to see him. I'm going to see him at Coachella. I'm going to see him for my birthday. And I may spend time with him in Tampa after my birthday for a little bit. That's to be determined, maybe or maybe not. But we've decided to just like actively talk less. And the reasoning behind that is because we decided not to get into a relationship because I needed this year to be single. And he also just got out of a serious relationship. It was more me than him. I was the one pushing, okay, we need to be single. Like he was the one really pushing for a relationship. I was the one really pushing, no, we need to be on our own. I just got out of something. I need to know what it's like to be by myself. And we just jumped into a situationship where we basically acting like full on together for months. And that's not doing what we originally intended to be single. Like we weren't literally, it's the opposite. Like we were acting as in a relationship and well, how are we able to fully lean into that intention if we're still acting like we're in a relationship? So we've decided actively to just talk way, way less and just to just kind of like take a step back from it. And do I love this man? Yeah, I do. And is it possible that he is my person and that this is very real and I could spend my life with him? Yeah, it is. But it's if it's real, it'll be real in a year. And for the meantime, like we both need to like focus on ourselves. We both need to like do our own thing. So yeah, it's sad and I feel sad about it. I haven't really had a huge emotional breakdown about it yet. I think that it'll come at some point, but honestly, like since that conversation, honestly, was really I was feeling so much anxiety before this conversation because I was like, why are we talking less? Like what is happening? And
Mm,
just confusion and things were getting into petty territory and maybe it wasn't like petty on his side, but it was starting to feel like that on my side and it was just starting to get into like a toxic place and I don't want to ruin this potentially amazing thing. Just like you just separate the person from the situation. And like him as a person is incredible, but the situation creates this like
yeah.
really potentially toxic dynamic. So, and I don't want to ruin something amazing over that. And also, I really do want to focus on myself. And I haven't felt super sad about it yet. I know those waves are going to be coming, those emotional waves, and like that grief is going to be coming. It's so crazy the amount that I'm fucking going through in a week or two, especially like something else did I mention I saw my ex on publicly or no?
I don't think we spoke about it on here, no.
No. Okay. Well, saw my ex and had a whole conversation with him, which was very healthy and respectful and like very healing almost. And it was a really great time. It just happened to happen. Like we just happened to run into each other at a party and had a chat. But it's like and like grieving the end of my life in Miami is something we talked about. And it's all of this is happening in the span of a week. Like I've gone through so much. And even in the last 3 months, I've gone through so much and emotionally, and it's a lot to process. And well, I can see and feel the growth happening in these very, very difficult moments. I see it happening. And that's a very cool experience. But yeah, the sadness around Dr. Leprechaun and that kind of, I guess, I don't even know what to call it. Like just taking a step back from it, like a whatever. I haven't felt sad about it yet, but I was in therapy yesterday and there are some like wounds that, and it's something that we talked about, I think a couple weeks ago, where the reason I was probably feeling so upset about it is that it was like re-sparking wounds that came from my last relationship. And those same wounds that we talked about, which I don't think we got into depth about it, and I don't know if I should. I was in therapy yesterday and I realized I was talking about this with my therapist, and I was like, this wound is something I really, really want to dive into and shine a light on because it is really, really relevant and very really coming to the surface with all of this. And we like started to dive into it, and it is way, way deeper than my last relationship. It goes back way, way further than my ex. Like this goes back
Interesting.
to like childhood.
Wow.
Like
Okay.
shit with my parents, shit with like my relationship with my parents, shit with my parents' relationship to each other. It's way, way deeper, which is why it's I think these things are really coming to the surface now. And then I think less sad about it right now is because starting to dive into these wounds that have been coming to the surface, I was like, wow, I'm really not ready for a relationship. I'm not ready for it. Like I need to do so much active healing around things in my life and things in my psyche and in my spirit and in my consciousness and cognitive things. Like there's so much work I need to do. Let's say my perfect person who could be Dr. Leprechaun, I don't know. My perfect person came along, like I'm not in a place where I would be ready for that because I need to do a lot of healing and a lot of work in
Mm.
myself. And I kind of like, yes, I'm going to be seeing him in the next like couple of weeks for a good amount. And I'm going to be spending good amount of time with him. And I think it'll be fun, but I think I want to take a little bit of a pause and break around just like not that I've been dating much anyway. I've just been kissing a lot of people, but I think just like taking a step back from like the romance part and like really focusing on myself and really like diving into these patterns because there's a lot of work that like needs to happen before I can like even think about committing to something else and like really just nurturing my relationship with myself, really just like focusing on other things because I'm not ready yet. And I knew I wasn't ready yet, but after starting to dive into like these things, I'm like, wow, like I'm really, really not. There's some work that really needs to be done before I can even
Yeah.
think about a new
Wow, that's
thing.
that's really interesting. I think it is really important, and I think we knew this all along after the situation with your ex about taking the time to process through it yourself, and obviously now it's come to the surface that there is actually a much deeper not meaning, but it goes much deeper than you initially thought. And so it just makes it even more apparent that you need to take that time for yourself and to really deep dive and overcome or deal with whatever it is that's arisen to do with your parents and whatever else there is. So I think it is really important. I'm so glad that you've made that distinction as well now that you seem to be in that right headspace. I also want to say though, it sounds like with the whole Dr. Leprechaun thing, that I believe everything happens for a reason, right? And for whatever reason, or for whatever reason wasn't apparent at the time, there were hiccups with Dr. Leprechaun. There were situations where it just wasn't quite right. It's not the right time, it's not the right place, it's the right people involved, but it's just not happening and you're clashing and it's just as we said a couple of weeks ago, getting petty, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's becoming quite apparent with what you just said that that happened for a reason, that the right person maybe, but wrong time, and it was the universe telling you that you're not ready for this. It's not about you and him not being ready or not being in the right time for each other. It's about you not being ready.
Yeah.
And I think that's really, really interesting to see because yeah, again, some people don't necessarily believe that everything happens for a reason. But I think that's a prime example of where the universe is aligned to show you actually what you need to do instead.
Yeah, exactly. And I do think that like him coming into my life immediately after my breakup, like literally days after, that happened for a reason, like falling in love with him and being in a situationship with him. Like it taught me a lot and it's teaching me a lot because it's still ongoing, right? Like we're still going to see each other. We're still going to be like talking a little bit after, just not as aggressively and not acting like we're in a relationship anymore. And it's like teaching me a lot. And it's like maybe it's the right person. I don't know. Like only time will tell. it was the right time when he came in, and it's also just it's the right time now for me to, like, really focus on myself and really lean into my own things, and I've been thinking about it. I'm like, "Okay, well, I'm gonna be taking more time for myself. What does it look like to heal through all this stuff? Like, therapy, talking to you through things." And I'm like, "What does it look like to heal all this shit?" I guess it's just, like, active reflection and journaling and things like that. It's also, okay, well, how do I deepen my relationship with myself? And, well, maybe it's a matter of throwing like, working through, like, new hobbies and, like, really working on my career and, like, really focusing on the podcast. And I honestly think, like, picking up hobbies is I think when I'm in France, like, really leaning into really practicing my French is something I'm gonna actively be working on, and maybe while I'm here, like, surfing a little bit more, or maybe, like, picking up the DJ hobby that I really wanted to get started on, and I'm, like, have been putting it off because it's, like, travel like, I've just been so busy. Like, maybe when I'm in Paris and I'm in one place, like, picking it up and learning and something like that. So,
Yeah, definitely. I
yeah.
think that's a good idea as well. I think it's really important to just pick up new things to keep yourself occupied, but not too busy because you also want to be able to process through everything. You want to give yourself the time and the space to understand and to think and to just let your brain heal from whatever it is. So I think that's really important, but I think it's a really good idea to allow yourself, or not allow yourself, to put yourself out there and try new things and see what you enjoy. But yeah, I think there's definitely a balance that you need to find.
Yeah, yeah, and I think in this and also, like, solo travel in itself is keeping me very occupied. It's like, it takes up so much of my time, and I don't wanna throw that out the window either. Traveling full time is a lot, so maybe it's just leaning more into that, and also just, like, leaning into what it feels like to be, like, alone and not with another person. And my mom was just like, "You might wanna take a break from, like, hooking up at all." Not that I'm doing very much of that. I think people think I'm going crazier than I am. Like, yes,
Mm,
it is happening, but not like pretty here and there, like nothing crazy. And just like taking a break from like hooking up in general. And it's yes, that sounds really good to me right now. I just know I'm gonna be hanging out with Dr. Leprechaun for the next like basically from end of April through potentially mid-May. We'll see. I don't know if I'm gonna spend time with him in Tampa or not, but
okay. Yeah, I think that was my, well, not related to Dr. Leprechaun, but the question that I had next was about hooking up and stuff. And I think it is beneficial for you to take a step back from that, even though you're not doing it much. I think there really needs to be a very hardcore focus on you and yourself.
yeah.
And I also think the risk of hooking up with people, even if it just on the surface is hookups, is that it can lead to something more. Uh, you never know. And we saw this. We saw this with Dr. Leprechaun. That was only ever in the first instance meant to be a little fling, and it's become something much more serious. So you don't know where it's going to go, especially with, necessarily it depends on your attachment style and stuff. But yeah, so you have to be really careful with that. And I do think you can't necessarily go the whole year celibate. That's not what I'm suggesting at all, but just be careful.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I think when I'm when Dr. Leprechaun and I, like, stop spending time together early, mid-May, whenever we decide to whatever, I think I am gonna take some time and not that I'm, like, going and seeking hooking up anyway. I was here and there a little bit, but honestly, like, just taking a break from it for a while and just, like, really focusing on my own stuff and my own shit for a bit, I think is gonna be, like, the healthiest thing for me. I don't know how long, like, maybe just give it a month and see how that feels, because it's also I'm also, like, European summer baby, like, also, come on. There's no way I'm not gonna have a fling with a fucking French man. That's
Right. I wouldn't choose a French man personally. They're yeah, not choose Spanish or Italian. Italians are
we
sexy.
gotta find me a nice Italian man when we go to
Yeah,
Italy.
just not French.
I love a French man. Actually, I didn't no, I didn't even I don't think I hooked up with a French man when I, like,
Well,
lived
there you
there.
go. There you go. It's
Yeah.
a sign. Don't do it.
We'll
Sorry, you
see,
might
but
have to edit that out because that might seem
a
racist, but
little
there's like
racist?
a Yeah, a little bit racist, but
Oh,
there's also no, I don't care. You don't have to edit it out. But there's a just a rivalry between Brits and the French. We just historically think wars going back like 1,000 years. We just don't really like each other very much. That's all it is.
okay, well, fine. It's a funny joke. I don't know, we'll see, but I think at least maybe for at least give it a month. Just like, don't hook up with anybody. Don't even
Yeah.
just yeah,
Well, a month doesn't sound like that much time, but I think it's
like at
yeah,
least. Yeah.
probably probably a good starting point. Yeah,
Yeah.
if you look at it from an at least perspective,
But then
definitely.
it's if I do that, I don't know. Like it's something to think about, something to really sit on. And I'm on my period this week anyway. Like I just started it, which I always say is like the best time to reflect and the best time to think about like really what you want and
Of course.
really how you feel about things. And it's okay, well, like what does that look like? What does that feel like? And yeah. So just give myself just think about that, my boundaries around it. And it's maybe it's one hard, like a okay, exactly like a month. I don't know. I'll figure it out. But regardless, yeah, taking some time away from romance stuff in general, I think is going to be healthy for me. And yeah,
Yeah,
it's interesting and just I'm surprised I've been like okay about it, but I think after therapy yesterday and realizing that I really do have a lot of stuff to heal from, like I think I would have been feeling like way more upset and hurt and torn up over this mini fizzle out thing if I didn't realize yesterday, oh shit, I have some serious work to do. I have some serious work to do. It's really opened my eyes to what's happening. I'm like, okay, like I
yeah,
really gotta work on myself. And that's what the whole point of this year is, right? Is to like learn the lessons, work on myself, and all of this stuff is
that's it.
coming to light.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so I think that's it's good that it's come to light, and I think the only way that you can grow through things like this is by first acknowledging and understanding that they are there and understanding where they come from, and you've taken that step, so that's really important.
Yeah. Yeah. So doing it, it's just like you got to do the hard work, you know what I mean? And
Exactly. Yeah, you got
yeah.
to do the hard work. Okay, so personally, the way you're talking and the way you're talking about the future, it sounds like a positive to me. I think this is you're on the right track. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see how it progresses, and of course, I'm here to support you along that as much as I can or as much as you want. So yeah, I'm glad to hear it.
Yeah, absolutely. It was funny because I sent a voice message to Josh and our other friend Mary in a group chat because they're the two people I've been talking to about everything, like my two closest friends. And I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna put you guys in a group chat and give you guys the update because I was gonna send the same message twice anyway. And just doing that and I at the end of it I was like, okay, so you guys might get some like crying voice messages and phone calls from me. And that's what happened over the weekend. I literally called Mary like crying and I was like, I'm really going through it right now. Um, and like that's bound to happen. I think that's also bound to happen a lot this year. And you guys have just been so gracious with me, like through the breakup and through this whole experience, like just being able to be present with me and help me walk through everything. But that's like what our friendships are. And you can do the same. I don't think you've ever called me in tears or sent me a voice message in tears, but you could. But
Do you know
yeah,
what? I thought about this recently. I think I'm pretty sure, correct me if I'm wrong, but when I was gambling and like at a really, really low point, did I ever message you and ask you for help? And I'm not talking about asking you for money, but I remember there were a couple of people. One of them was Lucas Big Daddy, and I'm sure you were one of the people that I basically came to and I was like, I don't know what the fuck to do. Like I am out of money, I've lost everything, and I think I was probably hoping that you were going to help me out financially, which obviously would have been a fucking disaster and just would have ended up going straight back onto gambling. But I'm sure you were one of those people. You probably wouldn't remember, but it was, I think you are, always have been one of my closest friends over
yeah,
the last however many years. So I'm sure that happened. I think that's probably the only time I've ever reached out in a really dire time like that.
yeah. Maybe. I think it's possible. I can't
Yeah.
quite remember. I know we talked about the addiction a lot while it was happening.
Mm,
Not like a ton in the same way that we talk now, but we did talk a good amount about
Yeah.
the addiction. And I remember we started talking a lot more towards the end.
Yes. Well, yeah, more regularly toward the last few years has been our kind of voice note season, voice
Yeah.
note era. And so that's, yeah, I guess when we started talking a lot beforehand, it was more fleetingly,
Yeah, like
catch ups
once.
here and there.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was like a catch up. Like I think COVID, I remember we did a 2-hour catch up. And then I don't remember when the voice messages started happening, but it was around, I think it was around the ending of the gambling situation.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. That would add up. Um, yeah, so yesterday I went for a run and I ran past my bank, and something I've been meaning to do or wanting to do for such a long time is get one of my bank statements from, I think it was back in 2018, so when I moved back from Florida, and it was one of the worst sort of few months, worst seasons of my gambling addiction. And I'd taken out, I think, two massive loans to pay off my gambling debts, and then I'd lost that money, so I was in such big trouble. And my godfather at the time, I didn't want to tell my parents, I didn't want to tell anyone. And I was just thinking, who can I ask for help? And this is probably when I messaged you, probably when I messaged Lucas. And I ended up landing on my godfather because I was like, if anyone's going to help me and not tell my parents, it's going to be him. And so I reached out to him. He called me. I was like, Josh, what have you done? This is terrible. But he agreed to bail me out as long as I never gamble again. And he sent the entire amount of money. I think it was £1,000, which is a no insignificant sum of money. Just sent it to me. Just sent it via bank transfer. And the reference underneath it was "do the right thing." I don't know if I've ever told you this before. And that phrase, "do the right thing," has stuck with me ever since. The last 7 years, it's constantly in my head. And to be honest, the last 3 years in particular, it's a large part of what stopped me from gambling. Just every time I have a temptation, I think about A, him sending me that money in good faith, in the hope that I would stop, and B, it's all about doing the right thing. And I've been trying to live my life, especially the last month or so since I made that shift, by doing the right thing in every situation. And we spoke a few months ago about living intentionally and living with kind of just putting thought and intention into every single thing that I do. And I think that is under the same type of guise as doing the right thing. So anyway, I went into the bank to try and get this statement because I was just like, have I misremembered it? Did I, it'd be nice to have a copy of it as well, as a reminder. And I was in there for about an hour. They couldn't find it anywhere. They were going back years and years, and it took them so long to get back to it. And they finally found it, and they printed it off for me, and I've just got it in my bedroom now. And it's
You should
just
frame
literally, it's
it.
got I know I should, shouldn't I? Because it feels like that wasn't the turning point. I did stop gambling for a while after that. But it's a big part of, like, there's a whole load of things with the gambling that built up and have culminated in where I am today, right? So
Yeah.
over the years, I relapsed and I relapsed, and I'd go 6 months and then I'd relapse. But in every single one of those recovery sessions or 6 months in recovery, I would always come back to it, but there were always lessons to be learned, right? And I think
Yeah.
all of those lessons built up and up and up to get me to where I am today, and I use all of those lessons in my recovery now.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was a really important point, and it just made me feel quite emotional when the guy, he was literally sitting there scrolling through my bank account for ages, and he said, "Oh, I think I found it." And he read it out to me, like he read out the name of the payee, he read out the amount, he read out the reference, and I almost started crying. Like I was just, it was a weird feeling, but it was, yeah, I've come so far with my gambling, my addiction, and yeah, it's definitely something to be proud of.
It's really something to be proud of. Absolutely. Anyway, we do have to jump off, but we'll see you guys next week
Yes.
on Mastermind
Yeah.
Moments.
See you next week.
Bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Don't forget to subscribe. leave us a review and follow along on social media.
If you would like us to help you mastermind something in your life, please send us a message.
We'll see you next week on the Mastermind Moments podcast.